Welcome to this calming, ad-free sleep story. Tonight, we will journey together along the ancient banks of the Nile, through a land of sunlight, stone monuments, and timeless wisdom. In this episode, you will hear a peaceful story about ancient Egypt, its kings and queens, its temples and pyramids, and the quiet flow of everyday life along the river. This is not a lecture and not a lesson you need to remember. It is simply a gentle story, told slowly so your mind can relax and your body can rest. You may listen with your eyes closed, or let the images form naturally in your imagination. If your thoughts drift, that is perfectly fine. If you fall asleep, that is a success. Take a deep breath. Let your shoulders rest, and allow yourself to drift into a world where time moved slowly, where the river guided life, and where stories lived in soft whispers carved into stone. Tonight, we return to ancient Egypt. Long ago, before cities rose in stone and empires dreamed of power, there was a river, a quiet river, a patient river, a river that flowed through endless sand, carrying life where there should have been none. That river was the Nile. Every year, when the Nile flooded, the land breathed. The water brought dark, rich soil, and the people called it the gift of the Nile. Without it, there would be no Egypt, no temples, no rulers, no stories carved in stone. Close your eyes and imagine it. The sound of slow water moving gently through the desert, the air warm but peaceful, fields of green appearing like a dream beside golden sand. This is where the story begins. Thousands and thousands of years ago, small groups of people settled near the Nile. They discovered something almost magical. If you plant seeds after the flood, the earth gives food. Wheat, barley, vegetables. Life became easier. Villages grew. People watched the sky and the water. They believed there was order in the universe. They called this balance Mat, a word meaning truth, harmony, and peace. At night, they looked up at a sky full of stars. They wondered about life and death. They felt something sacred in the world around them. They believed the sun was a god. Every morning it was reborn, traveling across the sky. Every evening it died, disappearing into the underworld, only to return again. This is how Ra was born, the sun god. Slowly, gently, quietly, hundreds of stories began to form. Gods made of sunlight, goddesses made of the Nile waters, spirits in the desert wind. Centuries passed, villages became towns, and towns became kingdoms. There was Upper Egypt in the south, and Lower Egypt in the north. For hundreds of years, the two lands were separate, like two stories waiting to join. Then, One day a man appeared, a leader, a king, maybe even a legend. His name was Narmer, or some call him Menes. Around 3100 BCE, he united the two lands into one kingdom. Imagine a ceremony by the Nile, sunlight touching the crowns, two lands becoming one. A new era beginning quietly, like sunrise. From this unification, the first dynasty began, and Egypt stepped into history. Life was slow and simple. People woke before sunrise, worked in the fields while the air was still cool, used simple tools made from wood and stone. In the afternoon, families rested in the shade. Children played near the river. Fishermen threw their nets into calm water. At night, the stars were bright over the desert, brighter than most of us today can imagine. As Egypt grew stronger, kings became more than rulers. They became symbols of order, balance, and harmony. People called them pharaohs. The first pharaohs didn't build pyramids. That came later. But they built something important: belief. They believed that when a pharaoh died, he would become a god in the afterlife. So they built tombs, simple at first, then greater and greater. A belief in eternity began, an idea that life never truly ends. It simply changes, like the journey of the sun. Picture the Nile under moonlight, the water dark and calm, the palm trees quiet, villages sleeping. You hear distant animals, the soft crackle of a fire, the voices of people telling stories of gods, stories of creation, stories of the desert and the river. This is how Egyptian history lived, not in noise, but in whispers. The first rulers organized farming, storage of grain, simple taxes, peace between villages. They developed writing, hieroglyphics, a calendar, and irrigation systems. But all slowly, calmly, over centuries. Egypt didn't rise in a day. It grew like a tree beside the river, sturdy, patient, quiet. Centuries after the first king united the land, a new era began, a time of stone, a time of dreams made solid. It was called the Old Kingdom, the Age of Pyramids. The early kings believed in life after death, but one king changed everything. His name was Djoser, a ruler of the third dynasty. Imagine a vast desert plateau called Saqqara, sand stretching in all directions, the horizon glowing gold in the morning sun. Djoser wanted something different for his tomb, something greater, something that reached toward the sky. He turned to a man, not a warrior, not a priest, but a thinker. His name was Imhotep, architect, healer, poet, and scholar. Slowly, patiently, at Saqqara, they built something the world had never seen before: a step pyramid. Layer upon layer of stone rising quietly in the desert air, like steps to eternity. Workers carried limestone blocks in calm silence. Drums beat in slow rhythm. The sound of chisels tapping against stone created music older than memory. No rush, no noise of machines, only hands, human and steady, shaping immortality. When it was finished, Djoser's tomb reached toward the sun, a symbol of life continuing beyond death. Egypt had discovered something powerful. Stone can be eternal. Generations passed, time flowed, but the dream continued to grow. In the 4th dynasty, a king named Khufu wanted a resting place greater than all those before him. Not steps this time, smooth sides rising like a mountain of light. At Giza, beside the Nile, workers began to cut millions of stone blocks, each block heavy, yet lifted slowly, carefully, with patience. The desert was quiet, the sun warm, the wind steady. Day by day, year by year, the pyramid rose. Workers pulled ropes together, foremen guided with calm voices, water poured on sand to reduce friction, stones sliding slowly into place. No shouting, only rhythm, teamwork, and time. When Khufu's pyramid was complete, it stood against the sky, silent and eternal. Beside it, other pyramids were built for his descendants, Khafre and Menkaure, and near them the carving of a giant lion's body with a human face, looking out across the desert, the Sphinx, its eyes watching the sunrise for thousands of years, a guardian of silence and stone. At night, Giza was peaceful. Torches flickered, stars reflected in the calm waters of the Nile. Families slept in mud brick houses, cooled by the breeze. And above them, massive pyramids slept too, ancient and still, like mountains in the dark. The pyramids were not the end of the story. They were the doorway. Egyptians believed death was not a final moment. It was a journey, gentle, slow, guided by spirits. They prepared texts filled with spells, prayers, and peaceful guidance, later called the Book of the Dead, originally meaning the Book of Going Forth by Day. A beautiful idea. When someone dies, they do not disappear. They go forth, travel, continue, awaken in a new light. When a person died, their heart was weighed, not against gold nor power, but against a feather, the feather of Ma'at, symbol of truth. If the heart was light, the soul passed peacefully into the afterlife. If the heart was heavy, burdened by harm or lies, it could not travel on. This belief made Egyptians live calmly, help your neighbor, respect the river, keep harmony, leave no chaos behind. Inside tombs, Egyptians placed simple objects, bread, water, tools, toys, musical instruments, flowers, writing tablets. Not treasure, memory. They believed a soul continues to enjoy what it loved in life. Imagine waking in a calm world beyond death, where water flows forever, the sun rises without end, where no noise, no pain, no fear exists. This was their heaven, the field of reeds, a peaceful place beside a river that never stops flowing. The pyramids still stand today, silent and patient. Thousands of years have passed, kingdoms have risen and fallen, but the stones remain. They are more than monuments. They are a promise that calm, memory, and belief can last forever. Breathe gently, relax your mind, and let the quiet history of Egypt carry you to rest. The river continued its patient flow, carrying the rhythm of life through the land. Generations came and went, each one leaving its mark upon the banks of the Nile. Children learned to play with the reeds, weaving them into small boats that floated gently on the water. Farmers planted their crops in harmony with the seasons, guided by the annual flood, which came like clockwork, blessing the land with its life-giving waters. They knew the river, the sun, the stars, and the wind, and in their understanding of these forces, they found peace. The people of Egypt did not rush. They worked steadily, carefully, always respecting the balance of life. The concept of Maat remained central in every action: truth, harmony, and order. They believed that if one lived in accordance with Maat, the heart would remain light, and the soul could journey safely beyond the mortal world. Pharaohs continued to rule, their authority strengthened not only by force, but by their connection to the gods. They were seen as intermediaries between the human world and the divine. Some were gentle, guiding their people with wisdom and fairness. Others were ambitious, building monuments that would last millennia, silent witnesses to their reigns. Slowly, stone by stone, the pyramids of Giza rose higher, their shapes casting long shadows over the desert, their edges cutting a serene line against the horizon. The Great Pyramid of Khufu, the largest of them all, was not only a tomb, but a testament to patience, planning, and collective effort. Workers and craftsmen labored in rhythm with the sun, the river, and the wind, their voices soft, their movements steady. At night, torches flickered gently, reflecting in the waters of the Nile, as families rested and the desert slept under a canopy of stars. The Sphinx, carved from a single limestone ridge, gazed quietly over the plateau, guarding the pyramids with an eternal calm. Over centuries, the river and desert shaped the land as much as the people did. Sand and water moved slowly, silently, forming the contours of villages, temples, and monuments. The Egyptians' belief in the afterlife was woven into every part of daily life. Tombs were filled with food, water, furniture, and cherished objects, so that the soul could continue its journey with all that it loved. Music and laughter, though absent from the stones, were imagined in the quiet corridors of eternity. Every tomb, every pyramid, was not merely a resting place, but a bridge between the world of the living and the world beyond. The Egyptians understood that life was transient, but memory and spirit were eternal. As the centuries passed, the old kingdom flourished, and new pharaohs rose to power. Menkaure, Khafre, and their successors carried forward the legacy of their ancestors. They improved irrigation, expanded trade along the Nile, and maintained the delicate balance of society. Scribes recorded the events of each reign meticulously, using hieroglyphics that told stories for those who would come after them. These stories, carved in stone or painted on walls, spoke of victories and challenges, of kings and workers, of gods and mortals, all moving in harmony with the world around them. The Egyptians cherished knowledge and learning. Temples became centers of wisdom where priests and scholars studied the stars, medicine, and mathematics. Their discoveries, slow and deliberate, laid the foundation for knowledge that would endure for millennia. And still, through it all, the Nile flowed, indifferent to the rise and fall of kings, a silent companion to the dreams of the people who lived along its banks. Time brought change, and with it, the Middle Kingdom emerged. The capital shifted to Thebes, where the pharaohs' palaces overlooked the river. The land continued to thrive as farmers, artisans, and traders maintained the rhythms of life. Pharaohs of this period were often more focused on improving society and ensuring prosperity for their people. Temples were built not only as resting places for the gods, but as places of community, where festivals and ceremonies filled the air with song and gentle movement. Egypt's borders expanded, connecting with lands to the south and east, and along these routes, ideas and goods traveled as slowly and deliberately as the river itself. Craftsmen carved statues and stelae with care, leaving behind images of gods, animals, and kings. Artists painted on walls, often choosing colors that were soft and soothing, creating scenes that depicted life, work, and celebration in a way that was comforting rather than violent. Children learned the stories of gods and heroes from elders who spoke softly, their voices carrying the rhythm of history and the patience of ages. Among the pharaohs of the Middle Kingdom, one stands out for his wisdom and foresight. Mentuhotep II reunited Egypt after a period of division, restoring order and strengthening the foundations of governance. He encouraged the arts and literature, and under his reign, scribes produced many of the texts that would later guide the living and honor the dead. Life continued in harmony along the Nile, the seasons bringing predictability, and the people learning to listen to the subtle messages of nature. The annual flood was more than a natural event. It was a symbol of rebirth, of continuity, of the gentle patience required to live in tune with the world. The pharaohs also paid attention to the journey of the soul. The Book of Going Forth by Day, known later as the Book of the Dead, guided individuals through the afterlife with calm and careful instructions. It promised that those who lived in harmony and respect would find peace beyond the mortal realm. Egyptians placed amulets and charms with their loved ones, small objects of protection and comfort for the journey ahead. They believed that the soul could enjoy the pleasures of life once more in the field of reeds, walking beside canals filled with water, surrounded by plants, birds, and the gentle warmth of the sun. This belief shaped daily life. Even the smallest act of kindness, the respect for neighbors, and the maintenance of balance in one's home were considered steps toward eternal peace. In this way, every day was a meditation, a quiet preparation for what lay beyond the present moment. Over time, monumental achievements continued. Pharaohs built temples along the Nile, like Karnak and Luxor, their massive columns rising slowly toward the sky. Priests tended to sacred rituals, chanting in voices that were soft and melodic, filling the air with an almost hypnotic calm. The Egyptians' attention to detail extended to everything: the alignment of stones, the proportions of statues, the order of gardens. Everything was designed to reflect the harmony of the universe. Even warfare, when it occurred, was carefully planned and deliberate, without the chaos that might disturb the balance of life. The people understood patience and foresight, values reflected in every brick laid, every riverbank cultivated, and every story passed from generation to generation. As time flowed on, Egypt encountered new peoples and ideas. Trade brought exotic goods from Nubia, the Levant, and beyond, filling markets with spices, gold, and fabrics of many colors. Yet despite the influx of foreign influence, the culture maintained its calm rhythm. Temples remained centers of learning, the pharaohs remained symbols of balance, and the river continued its gentle journey. Every morning, the sun rose over the Nile, touching the tips of papyrus plants, illuminating mud brick homes, and glinting on polished stones of pyramids and statues. Every evening, the sun set in quiet brilliance, casting long shadows, painting the desert in hues of gold and red, and signaling another night of rest and reflection. The stars appeared, unchanging, guiding travelers, inspiring storytellers, and comforting those who slept beneath their light. The everyday life of Egyptians was imbued with this sense of tranquility. Farmers woke early to tend the fields. Artisans carved wood and stone with patience. Scribes recorded events with careful precision, and children played along the riverbanks. Music flowed gently through homes and temples, soft melodies that encouraged calm and rest. Even celebrations were measured, filled with songs and dances that honored the gods while preserving the serene order of the world. The Nile itself remained the silent witness to all of this. Its waters reflected the sun and stars, carrying with it the memories of generations, the hopes of the living, and the stories of the dead. Its rhythm was a lullaby, slow and continuous, reminding the people that life was both fleeting and eternal. As centuries passed, the pharaohs of the new kingdom rose to power, creating some of the most magnificent temples and monuments in all of Egypt. Pharaohs like Hatshepsut and Thutmose III extended trade and influence, while rulers such as Amenhotep III and Ramses III built temples that would last millennia. These structures, like the Valley of the Kings, were carved into cliffs and hidden in quiet valleys, safeguarding the journey of the soul. Each tomb, each temple, was carefully designed to provide a sense of peace and continuity, ensuring that the people who entered could experience calm reflection rather than fear or haste. Priests continued to guide daily rituals with gentle chants, and the teachings of Ma'at persisted, a reminder that life's purpose was balance and harmony. The gods, each with their own domains, were depicted in art not to terrify, but to instruct and comfort. Ra traveled the sky in a solar bark, Isis and Osiris guided the souls of the dead, and Thoth recorded the balance of deeds with infinite patience. The divine presence was a quiet companion to everyday life, a steady force that reassured the people that the universe was in order. Even in the most monumental constructions, the Egyptian sense of calm and care persisted. The great temples of Karnak and Luxor, with their towering columns and vast halls, were places of reflection and serenity. Visitors walked slowly along stone corridors, observing carvings that told stories of gods, kings, and ordinary people. Every detail was intentional: the proportions, the inscriptions, the orientation to the sun and stars. Life, art, and belief intertwined in a rhythm that mirrored the river itself, constant, patient, eternal. Over time, Egypt faced periods of challenge, with invasions, droughts, and political upheavals, but the essence of Egyptian culture endured. The philosophy of Ma'at, the reverence for the Nile, the art of storytelling, and the care in daily life all continued to shape the people. In every quiet village, along every calm stretch of river, life persisted. People worked, played, and rested with a sense of purpose and tranquility. Through all these generations, the Egyptians left behind more than stone monuments. They left a lesson in patience, balance, and harmony. Their pyramids, temples, tombs, and texts remind us that greatness does not always shout. Sometimes it whispers, gently, carrying the wisdom of ages. The Nile still flows, and if one listens closely, one can hear the echoes of laughter, song, and quiet storytelling from long ago. Life and death, work and rest, sun and stars, all intertwined in a rhythm that has endured for thousands of years. And so, as you breathe slowly and relax your mind, imagine walking beside the Nile, feeling the soft warmth of the sun, listening to the gentle movement of water, and sensing the calm of a civilization that lived in harmony with the world. Let the stories of the pharaohs, the priests, the workers, and the children carry you into rest, into dreams, into the eternal flow of history itself. Breathe gently, let the quiet river of Egypt lull you, and drift softly into sleep. As the centuries continued to unfold, the quiet presence of Egypt remained constant. Caravan trails stretched across the desert, carrying incense, cedar wood, and tiny jars filled with precious oils. In quiet workshops, artisans shaped delicate amulets, each made with intention and patience. These charms, often in the shape of scarab beetles or the Eye of Horus, were believed to protect the traveler on their journey through life and beyond. Families gathered at twilight to share food, stories, and gentle laughter, while priests read the stars to understand the coming days. In the cool evenings, the scent of lotus flowers drifted lightly over the water, and the soft glow of oil lamps lit the interiors of mud brick homes. Even at times when rulers changed or borders shifted, the people always returned to their steady rhythm, planting and harvesting, worshiping the gods. And so, as our story comes to a close, imagine the Nile once more, eternal, calm, and patient. Its waters continue to move, just as they did thousands of years ago, carrying with them memories of kings and farmers, children and storytellers, temples and dreams. The voices of ancient Egypt may have faded, but their presence remains in the quiet air of history. Tonight, you have walked beside the river, heard whispers of stone and sand, and traveled through time at a peaceful, gentle pace. If you are still awake, you may let your breath slow even more, releasing the weight of the day. And if you have already drifted into sleep, may your dreams be soft and restful, filled with sunlight on water and the calm balance of a world shaped by harmony. Thank you for listening. Sleep well. Good night.